Alright, and it's time to finish up these solutions for the kind of oddball function properties assignment. That brings us to 7. This one's a little bit interesting because it actually labeled our axes. That's our time. This is the lunch money in dollars. Kind of start with a lot of lunch money, look about 100 there. But it gradually decreases. So this one, my domain, it does go left forever, right forever, so we're looking at negative infinity to infinity. Even though, actually, this one's a little bit different. Because since it actually has a real context, and yeah, it's not going to go everywhere. Your lunch money does start at 0, and my x's aren't going to go left of that. I guess technically it could. Depends on where you start. Here, we're going to say it can go left forever and right forever. So domain does go from negative infinity to infinity. Because you can go negative days, just what day it is kind of arbitrary. You can say today is day 0, and then, well, yesterday would be -1, which is okay. Anyway, the range, again, since we're going to assume the trend goes the same both ways, somehow, the range would go from negative infinity to infinity. The x-intercept is going to be what's over here. We're just looking at about 20 days. So that's going to be 20, 0. And my y-intercept is looking at 0, 100. And that makes sense. Yep. Okay. And my function is never increasing. It's always decreasing or it's constant. Speaking of decreasing, it's decreasing here and over here. So from negative infinity until you reach 5. And then also from 12 onward is decreasing. My function is positive until I reach my x-intercept. So from negative infinity until 20, my x-intercept. And that's it. It is negative thereafter, so from 20 to infinity. As my x approaches negative infinity, my function keeps going up and up and up and up and up, so my function is going to approach positive infinity, negative. What's wrong with me? The other one, as x approaches positive infinity, my function this time is going down and down and down without bound, so my function is going to go to negative infinity. And now we get the average rate of change over the interval from 2 to 12. Well, 2 is going to be over here. So I have a point right there. 12 is over here. So we get this point right there. So that's the point 1250. And over here we have the point 280. We need to get the rise over the run. So you have to go from 80 to 50. That's a rise of negative 30. And the run, going from 2 to 12, well, that's a run of 10. So that gives me a average rate of change of negative 3. That'll be my last one there. And then finally 8, which is all sorts of fun, because it's got this chunk here that's a little bit separated. Remember that the open circle means that point is not included, but you get really, really close to it on the left side. The filled in circle means that is included. So as soon as you hit negative 2, you're going to have a positive value of 2 instead of just 0. It's kind of an interesting piecewise function. The function does go left forever and right forever. So from negative infinity until infinity. The range, it does go down forever, so from negative infinity and up, but it doesn't go past this y value of 2. So it goes all the way up to 2. My x-intercept is going to be right here, right where it touches my x-axis. That's the point 0, 0. Which also happens to be my y-intercept, 0, 0. My function is increasing over here and on this section. So that first one goes from negative infinity until negative 2. And the next interval, that one goes from 0 to 2, where x is 0, x is 2, so we're increasing. It is decreasing on this section, which is from negative 2 to 0. My function is positive over here and over here, but not right here, because that y value is 0, which is not positive. So it's going to be positive from negative 2 until 0. We can include negative 2. And it goes from 0 to infinity. It's going to be positive. It is negative before you reach negative 2. So from negative infinity until negative 2, it's negative. As your x keeps going left and left forever and ever and ever, your function keeps going down and down and down. Without balance, my function approaches negative infinity. As your x goes the other way, as the x goes right and right and right, your function is going to stay constant, and it stay constant at 2. So that's going to be my end behavior on the right side. F of x approaches 2. And when you get the average rate of change over the interval from negative 2, it's right here, until 2, which is right here. This is the point negative 2, 2. And we got the point 2, 2. And so my rise is actually 0, because you go from 2 to 2. And my run, going from negative 2 to 2, is going to be positive 4. And that makes my average rate of change just 0. And that's it for the assignment.